I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is Project Architect 2. Oh, today is Research Facility Decoration Day. Today, we're going to essentially strip everything that you see behind me, which is essentially a frame, and we are going to be decorating it, placing in our floors, and then also starting to expand our rooms out, which are going to ultimately allow us to upgrade our mods. Now, today's build is going to be brought to you, of course, by the power of building gadgets, specifically the exchanging gadget. And I've set all of this up and we used our building gadgets to essentially place in all of the stone. But today we get to use the exchanging gadget to convert everything into a flat palette of stone to give us a nice template, and then we can start to expand and figure out exactly where we want everything and how we want it to look. Now, something that you may not have known, you can actually store all of your ingredients right here that you're going to use with your exchanging gadget and building gadget inside of your bag, and it will pull from your backpacks, which is very, very nice and something worth knowing. And later on, we're going to be able to hook these up to our storage systems, whether that's refined storage or applied energistics, and you can actually use your items directly out of your storage system. But that's going to be for future Chosen to have to worry about, because right now I'm just worried about getting a bunch of stone sort of pulled out of my system so that way I can fill my bag with this and we can start working on something new. Now, speaking of something new, this is on a newer version of the Modpack. I have been working tirelessly to try and update the Modpack and make sure it's in a very, very good state. And I've definitely taken some criticisms and I've taken them to heart. One of those specifically is, yes, there are some parts that can be a little challenging to locate in this Modpack. And I've updated the quest to make that a little bit easier to understand. And I've given a riddle, for example, for the stronghold, which we've not gotten into yet. But I will say this stronghold is a little bit more challenging than your standard stronghold to be able to find the end portal. You have to kind of search a little bit in order to do this. I've also added a structure compass, and this is going to be very helpful for another part of the quest that you actually have to go through. And that is going to be very, very helpful for you getting the Warden doll completed. Specifically related to getting the stalkers, which we'll talk about later. But the structure compass is a little bit different than you've probably experienced. We will be crafting it and utilizing it later on, but it does not tell you exactly where it is. Instead, it just points you in the direction, and it doesn't tell you how far away you are or anything like that, making it a whole lot more immersive, I think. So I've been trying my best to update this as best I can, and just to provide hopefully a good experience for everybody. Now on to getting the rest of this done. So yes, I'm going to be converting all of this into stone. You can see just by me clicking on this, exchanges it into stone. Oh, which is just fantastic. So effortless to build and is so very nice. I can use it on the walls, on the ceiling, just anything. I just want to replace it all with stone to give myself a nice fresh background. Now with almost everything entirely converted over, things are looking very good. So I can now start to store all of this. Oh, it's so satisfying hearing all the noises going into here. But that is all now set. And I did shrink this just a little bit because I actually plan on having something right here as well. This is probably going to be something integrated with applied energistics. But I do want like storage racks and stuff, right? This is going to be like a lab. It's going to be like a research facility. So we are going to have very clean looking floors, I think, in this build. And I know just the mod for helping me do that. That is going to be the chiseled chip integration. This mod right here adds back some of the old school, and I mean old school, chisel sort of textures from back in 1.12, including like the fans and stuff, all these textures. Oh, it's so nice. And one of my favorite ones to play with was definitely the laboratory blocks, and I want to use these as the floor. Now I am going to need to get into the chip mod in order to start off with this. And one quick craft later, and there we go. I now have the Tinker's Table, but that's not exactly how we get started fully with this mod. So there are very specific things that we have to craft from this. Like notice how these are all conversions of a very particular block. And that's because there is a very base block that we need to make. And this is the white panel that is a part of the laboratory block set. And same goes for these. This is a factory set. For example, this is a technical block set. and so on and so forth. So before I fully get to working with these, I do want to craft these up. Now these do have EMC associated to them because I wanted these to be used for decoration, and so they have values that reflect it being used as a decoration block. So now let's go ahead and pull out a few of these white panels and let's get to work on changing this floor. Now this is the block right here. This is the tinkering table from Chipped, and we can place this in, and they have updated this. It is so nice now, and you can see all of the different patterns here and how they are going to look. You can see all the different verticals and of course the doubles. And you can see how some of these have connected textures, which are very nice. But I think I want to do a nice set of large tiles, medium tiles, and darker tiles around certain edges to kind of give it a little bit more depth. But the first thing I want to do is I think lay out a bunch of these large tiles. So if I want the large tile, I hold Shift and I can craft all. Oh, it is so much nicer now. You can just craft everything in your inventory and switch it out, much like Chisel itself used to be. I now just need to go ahead and get my reference block placed in, and then I'm just going to start pasting this in slowly but surely. I can start off with like a 3x3 area. This will give me a little bit more control and making sure I'm not sending blocks underneath blocks that don't necessarily need it. I like to treat this just like painting, and for good reason. This is going to be my under layer, essentially. So this is going to be a layer that I'm painting in here that is going to go underneath everything. And then once I get this fully layered out, what I then like to do is go in and start directly painting on top of this more textures in. So now that I have sort of a base layer in, let's go ahead and start modifying this base layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these large panels and I'm going to start making medium tiles from these. I'm going to convert everything over to medium tiles, place a version down, and this is where I'm going to be a little bit more deliberate, and this is going to be stuck to range 1. What I should be able to do is just basically kind of paint in like some cracked sort of designs. And this is where you can definitely be as creative as you want. And I'm going to be lining this out like around different areas. And it's just going to separate the textures a little bit. And we're going to really get sort of special with it whenever we start to make the darker gray versions. And you know, just like the man, the myth, the legend himself would always say, there's never any mistakes, it's only happy accidents. And this has been block placing with Chosen. Now with that done, we can make these dark gray medium tiles. So believe it or not, this is going to really change up the way this is going to look because of these being like a super contrasty block. So I'm going to kind of be very deliberate with these and only place them in very specific locations, like on the corner sections of these blocks, much like this. And this is going to help sort of just kind of separate a lot of these corner blocks, I think. And we're probably going to have some stuff around here as well. But yeah, this is definitely going to help separate all of this. So I now got all of these tiles, these medium dark tiles in place and looking pretty good, I think, so far. So for a floor, this is currently working out. I still, I think, want to go in and change up this bottom section a little bit. But we're also going to add some foliage and stuff in here too, because I want this to sort of feel organic at the same time as being clean, if that makes any sense. I want it to feel like we're kind of a bio research facility. I mean, we are in a bio shroom cave after all. Now, I think for the walls, I'm also going to keep this white, but I'm going to change it up a little bit, and we're going to have different colors. For example, this floor up here, I think it's going to contain purple, and this bottom down here is going to contain orange. I'm going to use terracotta for this. Specifically, this is orange terracotta, and I'm going to use calcite for the walls. And then I'm going to try and use some variations of this textures here using the mason table. I really like this particular texture that is down here, I believe. Which one is it? It is called the polished. Yes. And yes, you can search through here as well. And search up the polished. I think you can also convert it back, right? And then polished. There it is. So polished calcite. There we go. We can convert all to it, and I'm going to start exchanging these walls out for this. So I've got the walls in place, and I'm really excited to get the colors added in, but I want to do the roof next. And I think I want to include mostly cyan terracotta, different sort of textures here. I am going to use this darker cyan terracotta, which is a nice sort of darker version of the medium tiles. And I'm going to line this up, but the roof is going to be mostly contained with this different versions of cyan terracotta. Something that's very nice that I also included in this pack is the ability for you to, instead of using this table, you can actually use a stone cutter to get most of these blocks. However, these sort of containers or these machines right here allow you to swap things back and forth more efficiently, in my opinion. So definitely recommend using this instead. But the reason why it exists for the stone cutter is so you can automate it with applied energistics down the road. Now for these corners, okay, I think what I want is I want these to sort of expand out like this here, where it's also a part of this whole setup that extends out, right? So I've got this going on. This is going to be a little bit different on this side, but I want this whole bottom section also integrated into this. I want this whole bottom section to essentially be this material and then at least one layer of this as well. Now this next section right here, I am doing these panels. These right here, the cyan terracotta tiles. And I'm going to line them all up along this section. And this is also going to go too wide out. Now I know it's a little dark, but this next section is the curled cyan terracotta version. This is actually really cool looking. And it definitely splits up the texture, giving a little bit like kind of an ornate sort of trim before I just put plain flat terracotta on the final layer, which is going to be right here. Honestly, this whole series is just going to turn into how to build with Chosen. It just really is. But of course, last of all, for this top section and getting most of this stuff sort of set in place is going to be a final layer up here of just plain Jane cyan terracotta, which is a really great alternative to using a flat gray block. Because this is a darker gray, even though it is cyan, it does have some blue tints to it. That's sort of the kind of setup for gray, right? So you have this, which I would definitely say is gray. This I would also call gray. However, it does have a kind of bluish tint, but very, very light, which is essentially what gives the cyan terracotta a darker shade, which is very nice. Now, I'm not a color expert or anything like that, but I do know how to blend colors together, and even crafting things like this technically is a dark block. This is a little bit lighter in shade. This is darker yet again, and this is light, and this is dark. So we kind of gone dark, a little bit lighter than that, and then back to dark again. And I really wanted it to be sort of dark up here to play contrast with these really, really bright lights. Now to add in the color, and things are going to look really, really nice. So I've got some more of the cyan terracotta tiles on the base here. And this is making things look a little bit smoother than just having this touching the ground. And then I'm just going in with regular terracotta. However, this is orange terracotta. So this right here, orange terracotta. And then up top, I'm going to be using purple terracotta. It's not a bright, like, splash in your face of color, but it is some color. And as of right now, we're sort of limited in the color department. Now, once we get some foliage in here and start to make it look like the actual bio place that it is, that's when things are really going to kick off. Now, I do want to go in, and we're going to be continuing on with our building mods, but I do want to go in here and I want to start exchanging out all of these stairs into different blocks. And one of the best ways to do that, allowing us to use any material we want in order to convert anything into a stair, a slab, a ramp, we can utilize this new mod, framed blocks, which is absolutely fantastic, by the way. So all I need to do is craft up a few of these, and then let's go ahead and make some stairs so I can frame up some stairs. Now, there are some tips and tricks that we can actually use when setting this up, and these tips are going to be pretty helpful. So I have my terracotta here, and typically you would place this down just like this, and of course it kind of gives you an outline showing you how it's going to be placed, which is very nice. And then you would click the textured item into it, and it does consume the block. But you can actually put this in your offhand when you place, so that way when you place, it'll automatically consume that texture and just saves you another step. Another helpful tip is, well, what if you place these all in and you're like, oh, I don't want to like break and redo them? Well, you can actually swap them out. You just need a hammer and then just right click the new block. So you can just keep clicking like this with the new block in your offhand, utilizing the hammer from the framed blocks mod. And there you go. Super, super easy to kind of manipulate these blocks. So my plan for test tubes in these corners are going to basically be andesite wrapped like this. And then I'm going to be using glass. And the best way to sort of connect these together is just like this, one on top of each other, until we get up to the top, in which here I am going to wrap this around with some andesite. And the goal is to have a light in the middle that is going to make these very bright and illuminate. That is going to be here and also in the top. Now, I know this may not be exactly me progressing 100% towards like automation or anything like that, but I do believe that building a base is a big part of playing any sort of Minecraft mod pack, because you can definitely get super discouraged if you don't have enough room for things, and you can also get discouraged just overall because you're not liking the way things are turning out. So I definitely recommend building a base if you can, or if you've never tried it before, and it might actually enhance your experience playing through the mod pack. No, it just definitely gives you something more to look forward to and makes things a lot more memorable. Now, I want to start adding in some foliage. So I've got some oak leaves here, and I'm also going to include some moss mixed and matched in with this to add as a really nice looking railing. I think the best way to get this to look good is going to be to, like I said, mix and match things, and not keep everything so symmetrical. So again, an easy way to do this is just by placing in a bunch of this. So you just get it all placed in, and then you can start modifying it after you get a base layer, like painting. I also want to include some of these hedges, which I think look really nice and definitely separate some of this. And I'm going to include it in some of these places like here, for example, where we have this under part. And now they're both connected like that. And I think this is definitely going to separate these blocky textures. Now with the moss in, we can actually go ahead and start bone mealing it to get different things. For example, like the moss carpet on top of it. But there's also other things we can get. Let's see if I can go ahead and get an azalea bush to potentially spawn. That'd be really nice. And then having these azalea bushes with a little bit of that moss carpet on top looks really good. But just having some foliage in like this definitely makes this whole thing stand out. For example, there's that, the azalea bush, and I like to just potentially prevent it from growing. I like to put a piece of carpet on top, and that just prevents it from growing up. Also, I want to add some framed fence, I think, down here as well. Oh, actually, you know what? Walls would look a whole lot better, and then I can have that go even further down like that. So yeah, instead we can do, for example, a wall, and then we can do a fence. Oh, and we get these like very pointy looking stalactite style, I don't know, moss. I don't know. Things like this, I just love to experiment with. And it just adds a different dimension to this whole build here. So things are, I think, starting to shape up. The only thing that I'm really lacking here is lighting. Okay, so we have the roof lights, but that doesn't illuminate the ground areas. I do have these. These definitely have light. I did put water dripping down from the top here. It does add some light in this particular area, but nowhere else. So I want to come up with some interesting solutions to that, and Simply Lights has me covered. Now, believe me, as much as I love the ambience going on right now, which is honestly kind of cool, I think utilizing some of these things, for example, the illuminated fixture, the simple light bulb, these are all different styles of lights. For example, this is the light bulb. It's a really neat looking thing. But there's also fixtures which look like this, and when they're on a ceiling, they look like a little dot, or when they're on the floor, they look like a little dot. All of these, very, very cool looking. And there's also illuminated rods, right? Which are kind of like in rods, but they don't have like the ends on them. And then of course, one of my personal favorites, edge lighting. And these are dynamic edge lighting, which mean you can place them like this. For example, this is the bottom half, but if we take one and we flip it, we then can have it on the top, just like this. And these will connect to the ground. So depending on where you place these, they'll end up being a single like this, or they can be fully circular just like this, or you can wrap them around blocks. There's all kinds of stuff. Like they connect. Very, very cool little thing that you can do with these. And I can't believe I almost forgot the illuminant column. This thing right here is a sword. Believe it or not, you can actually hit things with it. It is a sword, but it's also a really pretty light post. And I might use this down here on the floor level. I think this will go great in the little garden that's in the center, which is just moss. And there we go. Or, you know what? This could be even better if I actually had these posts, for example, here. Oh Oh yeah, that looks so much better. And I think for some very simple lighting touches, just using the illuminated fixture really fits well in most spaces. For example, on the outside of these rooms that's going to be here, the frames, I think this fits perfectly, and it's just going to be enough light for this. Now, I am going to need more lighting elsewhere around here. I also want to drag out some more of this foliage, but this is not enough. For example, this center area. So I might do something special where I have a light thing that comes off the wall here. And you know what? For this design, I'm going to go with something like this. So we have this block right here, and it sort of outstretches like this a little bit. And then we can place a light directly on the bottom here. Like, I don't know exactly what kind of light I want down here, but if we go into simple, you know what? Let's do edge lighting, because I think edge lighting would look really nice if we did like a top edge lighting just on the bottom here. Yeah, like this. Okay, and then I might like stretch this out and we'll have like a double section of that. That's a pretty cool looking light right there. So with a little bit of curving, this looks fantastic. A nice modern looking factory light. You know, we gotta have the LEDs. You know, it's more energy efficient, you know? Now I think for the final touch is to get these columns placed in, and I had originally a different idea for these columns. I'm still going to add some more texture to them. For right now, these are just going to be connected directly to the top like this, and they're going to be more of that cyan terracotta, kind of going with that dark theme here. But I am going to make the base of them more of these tiles going up. So now I think this is in a pretty good state to call this at least ready to start building out the outer walls and getting the room set up. I'm still debating on whether or not this right here is actually going to be a hallway that leads into these doors right here. I'm still debating. This would have to go up and then extend out here to allow access to these upper platforms where these are going to be extended rooms that are off the side as well. But it's all still a work in progress, like very much a work in progress. There's only so much I can get done in one day. And today has been a pretty crazy day thus far. Actually, the more that I think about it, I've got some other clever ideas. Instead, I could use these rooms right here to link to each other, or I can use them as a transmat system, essentially having setups, for example, with RFTools that would allow me to walk into one and it teleports me to the other. For example, like going from dimension to dimension. And that would be actually perfect for this room right here, to have like the dimensional room or nexus, as I remember calling it in the past. When the ideas are flowing, oh man, the things are gonna happen. Things are gonna happen. I cannot wait to get into applied energistics. That's gonna be happening very, very soon. And that is going to fill this room with a little bit more technology. And it's going to be very nice to have access to everything in one place. Yeah, actually, I think these rooms are going to be great. For right now, I'm going to use regular elevators. These are really cool blocks, by the way, that allow you to go up and down between two different locations. So for right now, I don't have anything above, but I'm about to place this directly in the center here. And so long as they're directly above each other, it allows you to teleport. Very, very cool. And you can set this to directional. And I like to have some of this set to directional. So that way, when you land, you're facing outward and it's going to force you to do that. So for example, this is set to that direction. And if I set this one directional to the north, it's also going to go that way. And you can hide the arrow, which is very nice. And yeah, you know what? We might actually just use elevators here. You can also right click a block onto it to change the way it looks, which is another pretty awesome thing, and shift right click to get it off of there. So I think this is turning out beautifully. Oh, this is too good, too good. So I have these areas right here. You walk in and zoop. There we go. Perfect. Now I know this is a little bit of a shift, but I kind of forgot last time I built this quarry out to change my shape card to not be hollow. And so last time it had only actually mined out the edges of the bound. And so what I did now is I made it a full square. So it's actually been mining this whole time while we've been working on this stuff. And yes, this is a insanely good way of getting a good grasp of EMC early on. just while you're working on other projects. Just make sure you have a quarry running somewhere else. Just the sheer diamonds alone is going to be an insanely quick way of getting a ton of early EMC, which is only going to help you make more down the road. So now with this in place, I think we are ready and set up to get to modding. That's right, we're going to be really diving heavily into mods and automation very soon. Now that we have this, all I have to do now is just essentially build out a room and then place the machines in the room and get them set up and automated. Now, I would really love to start focusing heavily on getting power. So we need to get a somewhat sustainable source of power, and we also need to start moving into applied energistics. That's going to be some of our first steps that you can look forward to here in the next few episodes. So we're definitely going to be pushing those out, and I hope you guys are looking forward to those. If you are, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and well, of course, give this video a huge thumbs up. If you've enjoyed the build thus far, let me know down in the comments. What do you think I should add? What do you like about it? I would love to hear from you. And of course, check out the Discord, discord.gg/ChosenArchitect, and join the amazing crew today. Speaking of the Discord, I do want to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to Browser Gaio. I think I said that right. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting in one of the best ways possible. It really does go a long way, and I really do appreciate you and all of you who do support me in a financial way. Thank you so very much, and thank you for watching today's video. I'll see you in the next one, and of course, as always, yet again, I can't say it enough, thanks for watching. Bye!